I know everyone can relate that a lot of kids, teenagers, and young adults, man, they are tech savvy. They can do videos, social media. They can do all this stuff that we don't know how to do sometimes. However, they can't call and make a doctor's appointment. They don't know how to change a tire. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to do a lot of things. So where's the balance? Where is this coddling culture coming from?
Well, who do you want to go first? Because I'm going to hit you with so one, we got to start with, let's go Gators! Because y'all know on the last podcast, I said, by the time y'all see that one, we're going to be national champs. And y'all, sorry, had to rep. Okay. Same. And you know what? Because it's funny because I was glad we were doing this today because, I'm going to relate it back. And I think even I was thinking about what was it about our team that just was so different than any of the other teams. And that was it. They didn't get coddled at all. I mean, they didn't get good press. They didn't get anything. Didn't have a number one this, that. It was just a bunch of little dogs coming in. But they knew what they had to do. And that's the thing. If they didn't have it, they figured it out. And I think that's the problem. But also, I think a lot of it goes back to, and I tell my students, I say, the problem is a lot of times, like when COVID happened, because there's a lot of that psychosocial development that happens in public schools and public thing and actually experiencing things. And so if you were any type of a child or a person that's very introverted and didn't quite understand the world, but you still had to show up and you had to navigate the world your way. And so, and again, not their fault. And I tell them all the time, I said, not your fault. I said, but then there was all these choices and all these things. And of course, as a parent who didn't know what to do, and if their child was already struggling, and they go, oh, we have the option to just keep them home. And then what?
And then what happens?
Right. And now they're 18 and they're whatever, and they're trying to even go to college or they're trying to get a job, which is why even in my class, my Gen Psych class, I do interviews. We talk about all that stuff because I'm like, you have to, and I ask them, how many of y'all are comfortable talking just one-on-one? How many? They don't know how to date. Right. They don't know how to make friends. They don't, and it's just not just one or two. This is a lot of them.
That's what I'm saying. Right. It's like it's a generation thing.
It is. I'm finding too, that some of these kids, they don't know how to fill out job applications. You know what I mean? And like you said, they're so tech savvy and they know this and they know that, but like real life stuff, they don't.
I know, and then it affects them. Like what I'm seeing too is I love the young adults, just like you do. Like I really vibe with them. I love like my 18 to 25-year-olds. Mm-hmm. But what I'm seeing, like a huge issue is that they were, they had, let's say, great parents, intact families, however you want to picture, picture perfect families, and parents that have been really supportive. But how supportive were they? Like sometimes what we do is we think that we're trying to protect them. We're trying to teach them something. Mm-hmm. However, what we're really doing is preventing them to learn from mistakes, learn how to problem solve, things like that. And then what happens is that a lot of times when we get to it, like they fear because they lack the confidence because they were so codependent on their parents doing everything for them, just taking over. And I want to question parents out there because I've been there too. And I've had to check myself. Yeah, I know.
All of us.
Check ourselves and say to us, where are we going with this? Are we trying to protect our children or is this coming from a place of fear? Because I really think that it's fear-based why parents sometimes are overdo it and the helicopter or the lawn mowing parents, which is another term, which they're paving the way everywhere they go for their kids. So they're using the lawnmower. And it's because you're trying to just do everything for them. So it's perfect. But then where do they go? Where do they go when they're 18 and 19 and they're trying to do things? I'm saying, Mom, make my doctor's appointment. Who do I call? How do I go to the pharmacy? What is that?
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes too, because I can attest to being like a helicopter mom, I guess, from, what my kids have told me in times past. But I think, if there's a parent out there that's still doing that, it's because we have the mindset that we don't want our kids to go through what we've gone through.
Fear.
Right. It is fear. Mm-hmm. It's definitely fear, especially if, the parents have had a hard upbringing or they've had to figure out things on their own that they shouldn't have had to figure out at that time. So they try to save our kids from that. But in essence, we are doing them a disfavor by doing that. So I think it definitely is fear-based.
Yeah, and it comes from a good place. Those parents who are doing that, it's not because they're a bad parent or they're terrible. It's just they're thinking they're doing good, but it's really doing harm in the long run.